The studio lights blazed down like fire. Cameras rolled. The crowd sat in electric silence. And then, out of nowhere, Hollywood legend Mel Gibson leaned forward, eyes burning, voice trembling not with fear, but with truth. "Governor," he said, his tone like a blade slicing through the air, "do you even hear yourself anymore? Do you see what's happening to the people you swore to protect?" The audience gasped. Gavin Newsom's confident smile froze. What was meant to be a friendly political interview had just exploded into the most shocking live TV confrontation in years. It had started as a normal night. The California Spotlight talk show was airing live from Los Angeles, with millions watching. The show's guest list was simple: Governor Gavin Newsom, ready to talk about California's progress, and Mel Gibson, a surprise addition meant to add Hollywood sparkle. But what no one knew was that Gibson had come with something far more powerful than glamour. He had come with pain. For months, Mel had been quietly helping struggling families in rural California. He'd seen closed businesses, homeless veterans under bridges, and young artists losing hope. Every time he looked into their eyes, he saw the same thing: people forgotten by power. And now, face to face with the man who ran the state, Mel couldn't hold it back any longer. "Governor Newsom," Mel began, his voice shaking slightly, "I've been driving through the same neighborhoods your billboards claim are thriving. But what I saw were empty streets, broken windows, and people begging for food. These aren't statistics, they're lives." Newsom straightened his tie, trying to regain control. "Mel, I appreciate your passion," he said smoothly, "but governing isn't about emotions. It's about balancing what's possible with what's right." Mel laughed, not mockingly, but painfully. "You call this balance? When people can't afford rent? When small businesses are dying while politicians smile on TV? You can't balance on the backs of broken people, Governor." The studio went silent again. The host looked terrified. The producers in the booth whispered frantically through headsets, unsure whether to cut to commercial. But they didn't. Something in the air was too real, too raw. Gavin Newsom, visibly angry now, shot back. "You think a movie star knows what it takes to lead millions of people? You have no idea the pressures." Mel interrupted, his voice now rising, not in rage, but in pain. "I do no pressure. I've seen what fame and power do to people. I've seen how easy it is to lose your soul in the spotlight. But what's happening here, what's happening to California, isn't just a political failure. It's a spiritual collapse. You're leading a state that's forgetting how to feel." For a moment, Newsom looked speechless. The audience, once murmuring, was now dead quiet, every person watching from home, every soul in the studio, hanging on Mel's words. Then, Mel reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded photograph. It was old, creased, stained with fingerprints. He held it up to the camera. "This," he said softly, "is Maria. She ran a small cafe in San Fernando Valley. When the shutdowns hit, she begged the state for help. She filled out every form, made every call. But no one ever called back. 2 months later, she lost her cafe. 3 months later, she lost her husband. I attended his funeral, alone, because no one in office showed up." His voice cracked. "You call that leadership?" Even the camera crew's eyes glistened. Viewers at home started commenting non-stop, thousands of messages flooding social media, half supporting Mel, half furious at Newsom's silence. Finally, Gavin leaned forward, his face red. "Mel, you're twisting this. You don't understand how complicated the system is." Mel's eyes softened. "That's just it, Governor. The system's become so complicated, it's stopped being human. People don't need politics, they need compassion. And compassion doesn't need a system." The tension reached its peak. The host nervously tried to move on, but the crowd wouldn't let it end. One woman from the audience suddenly stood up and shouted, "He's right. My family lost our home and no one cared." The room erupted, not in chaos, but in truth. Dozens of voices rose, sharing pain, anger, loss. It was as if years of silence had finally broken. Newsom sat frozen, and for the first time in a long time, he didn't have an answer. The next day, every major news outlet in America was talking about it. Mel Gibson confronts Gavin Newsom on live TV. Clips of the confrontation went viral across social media. Some called Mel brave, Others called him reckless. But everyone agreed on one thing: he spoke from the heart. A week later, Mel appeared again on camera, this time not in a studio, but standing in front of Maria's old cafe. The sign had been repainted. The cafe had reopened. Run now by Maria's daughter, with help from a community fund Mel had started the night of the broadcast. He looked into the camera and said softly, "Change doesn't start in government buildings. It starts in hearts. You can't fix a broken system, but you can heal broken people." And as the video ended, his words echoed across millions of screens, reaching people who'd almost given up on hope. Because in a world where power often speaks the loudest, it took one man's raw truth, spoken live, under bright lights, to remind everyone what real leadership sounds like. Moral: the most powerful voice isn't the one backed by authority, it's the one backed by courage, compassion, and truth.